My Girl is my international anthem as a songwriter, because My Girl is one of those songs whereas you don't even have to sing My Girl, you know? And this is all over the world, man, even in places where they don't speak English, you know what I mean? They still know the songs, you know? People ask me many times about that too. They said, well, aren't you sorry that you gave My Girl to the Temptations? No, baby, I'm not sorry. First of all, the Temptations are my brothers, and I love the Temptations. Because had it not been for the Temptations, I would have never written My Girl. I mean, when I wrote My Girl, I wrote it for the Temptations. I had them in mind. Whenever you hear one of my songs by said artist, for the first time you hear that song, that's who I wrote it for. I have always felt like if I can do something to contribute to one of my brothers and sisters' career, you know, man, that's a wonderful feeling. And so all the writers and producers at Motown jumped on the Temptation bandwagon, and they started to write with Eddie Kendricks in mind as the lead singer. But I knew that David Ruffin and Paul Williams were in that group. Awesome singers. So I'm thinking to myself, if I get a song where David is sweet with that sound in his voice, but he's singing something that's really sweet and melodic, I think people would like that. Had it not been for the Temptations and been for David Ruffin, you know, I may have never written My Girl.
Talking about my girl. Ooh, my girl. That's all I can talk about is my girl.
I was growing up in Detroit, and where I was growing up, I just didn't think it would be possible for me to become a singer. When I got to be about 11 years old, that was when I was in my first singing group in the neighborhood. Some friends of mine, some buddies of mine, we formed this group and we called ourselves the Five Chimes. And we would rehearse at my house. And then when I went to junior high, we changed our name to the Matadors. And we would participate in all of the group battles in Detroit. And we'd be either at the recreation center or at one of the schools or just on the corner. And we would be having these group battles, so the girls would come around and hear us sing. And there'd be 4 or 5 groups there singing. We knew, however, that if the 4 Ames showed up, who turned out to be the 4 Tops, you were really just going for second place at best, because they were the best group in the city. My neighborhood was just hustling and bustling with music. And I grew up with some great people, man. Aretha Franklin is my longest friend who is alive today. I've known Aretha since I was probably 8 years old. She grew up right around the corner from me. And my second longest friend who's alive today is Dinah Ross, because she grew up 4 doors down the street from me. And the Temptations and the 4 Tops and all those people were growing up in my immediate neighborhood. I can't answer why there were so many of us in that same neighborhood. But there were a lot of us in the same neighborhood, but that was happening all over Detroit. And it was just hustling and bustling with people trying to sing and make music. I never let myself think that, okay, this is going to be my life. I wanted it to be my life because it was my first love. But I just didn't want to set myself up to be disappointed like that. So, yeah, but I always wanted to be a singer. I remember my first check that I got for $1,000. And where I grew up, I never thought I'd have $1,000 at one time. I am so proud. That's one of my proudest things in my life, to have been there from the ground floor of Motown. Motown grew to something beyond our wildest dreams.